What's up, Knicks fans? We are so excited to announce that this summer, Fanatics Fest is returning to New York City, taking over the Javits Center from Thursday, July 16th to Sunday, July 19th. Meet your favorite athletes from every major league, including current New York Knicks like Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, and Knicks legend Patrick Ewing. Catch live podcasts and panels featuring some of the biggest names in sports while experiencing interactive activations from top leagues and brands. You can grab exclusive merch and discover one-of-a-kind memorabilia from sports and entertainment. Buy, sell, and trade collectibles with hundreds of top dealers. Connect with fans around the world who share your passion for sports. Tickets are on sale now at fanaticsfest.com. And when you use promo code KnicksFilm10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off your purchase. It's an extra day of the world's #1 sports fan festival coming together under one roof, and you don't want to miss it.
Yeah. Getting too old for this shit, guys. Getting too old for this shit. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, where if you are someone that did not suffer some sort of a cardiac event in the last, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I don't have an exact, I didn't set a timer. Congratulations to you. That means you are in good health, and your ticker is working great. Most of us, I don't think, can say the same. Wow. Okay, so we're here to talk about a win. Let's start there. And it was a very, in some respects, a very impressive win by the Knicks, a team that coming off of a big win against the Brooklyn Nets, seemed to not fully escape turmoil over the last few days, thanks to Josh Hart press conference and, you know, some more reports and things trickling out here and there. So it almost felt like this was as much of a prove it game as the Nets game was, albeit different level of opponent. And that was just the setup. And they won 112-109 against obviously a tough Philadelphia 76ers team, but an imperfect Philadelphia 76ers team. And man, I'm like genuinely, as I rarely am, maybe I'll take a drink and that'll help. I'm genuinely at a loss for words. Not that there aren't hours worth of things to say about what we just witnessed, but I'm not sure, one, where to start, and B, how to how we should be viewing the win that they just got. So let's take a step back. This should be a positive, right? Can we agree on that? No, we can't agree on that because I don't even know if I believe that. But from a positive standpoint, this was a game where I thought the Knicks played exceptional offensive basketball in the first half. If they're some of their best, really, you could argue two of their best three-point shooters had anything close to decent nights from downtown or decent halves from downtown, that they would have put up 75 points in the first half against a Philadelphia 76ers defense that is not a great defense, but they're okay. And you know, they were down obviously at the half. They were down by 4, but that also contained a former MVP who was operating at the absolute peak of his like MVP powers. And there was nothing that anybody on the Knicks, I'm not going to blame anybody on the Knicks for what Joel Embiid was able to do there in the first half, because nobody could do anything with him at all. So they withstood that. And then the third quarter started. And then at the start of third quarter, in a game where, look, he was a game time decision before the game. So, you know, I want to choose my words carefully here. In the game where they could have really used from some nice minutes from Karl Anthony Towns, he commits an early foul. And at the time that he commits that foul, the Knicks were down 3. And then I would say that was at the 10:24 mark of the third quarter. I would say over the next 14 minutes, 14 and a half minutes, if you want to be exact, because things started to turn at the 8-minute mark of the fourth quarter. So for the next 14 and a half minutes, the Knicks just flat out played as good a basketball as they have played this season. It was largely the starting unit with Mitchell Robinson in place of Karl Anthony Towns. And they did so. They were doing all the things that we have begged them to do for some time now. They were obviously moving the ball on offense, which was fantastic. Mitchell Robinson absolutely took over this game, I thought, from a defensive standpoint, but it wasn't just Mitch. Guys were fighting around screens. Guys were contesting. And then, of course, the story of the game, or what should have been the story of the game, didn't end up there. There were about 18 different stories from this game. One of the stories of the game, was the Knicks offensive rebounding. Absolutely took over. And you saw them do something that I don't know that we've seen them do quite in that way this year, which is they blended the old Knicks with what the new Knicks are supposed to be. You know, they blended this beautiful offense, albeit without Towns on the floor, but a lot of passing, a lot of ball movement, with a toughness and a grittiness, and really tapping into something that they have not tapped into very often this year. Getting, Philadelphia to commit illegal screens. How often have we seen that? Like multiple illegal screens, one by Embiid, one on Bona within a few minutes of each other. And it turned into a 24-4 run. And you had Philly rattled in their own building. And then the fourth quarter started and you were up by 13. And you got the lead up to 17 a couple of times. And look, in that early fourth quarter, and even you could go back to the third, you could even be frustrated if you wanted to then, because they had some wide open looks from 3, and there were a couple Knicks in this game who, when I tell you they could not buy a bucket, Mikal Bridges being the most notable one of 9 from the field, 3 of 16 overall. He was not on the floor to end the game, nor should he have been. Absolute no-show performance on the offensive end for Mikal Bridges. Probably the worst offensive game we have seen Mikal Bridges play as a Knick. The possession where he had 2 misses on the same possession later in the fourth quarter was painful. It really truly did inflict physical harm on my personage. But not to be outdone, Deuce McBride, 1 of 8 from 3. And, look, and am I going to kill either of those guys too much? Mikal probably a little bit more than Deuce, because Deuce has been everything and then some for this Knicks team, and they've absolutely needed him to be for a while now, and he's also been one of the best shooters in the league. So they could have blown the game open. They didn't, and sure enough, as you figured they would, and as you figured it would start with a Maxi 3, it started with a Maxi 3, and it was innocuous enough. And then we had a couple of plays that were really frustrating. I'm going to go back to Mikal Bridges. I mentioned those 2 misses on the same possession. Actually, before that, he had what looked like a pretty good runway to try to get a hard finish. And the thing that was crazy was in a game where he actually went to dunk it over Joel Embiid in what was the most physical rim attack I think we have ever seen from Mikal Bridges in a New York Knicks uniform or in any other uniform. In the same game as he did that, he refused to challenge the rim later when it really mattered, and tried this up and under. That missed, and then that was followed by the 2 misses on the same possession. We also had Karl Anthony Towns, who picked up his, I didn't even mention him, picked up his 5th foul at the very start of the 4th quarter. Not great, Karl. I'm sorry. You can't blame me back on that. And then that forced Huck 40 minutes because Mitch, was absolutely gassed as it was. Mitch played 27 minutes in this game. Huck Porty, credit to him, he kind of sort of held the fort, but he could have really used a better offensive force out there during those minutes. Eventually, Cat comes back in, picks up his 5th foul after he gets blocked at the rim on a dunk by Joel Embiid. It ends up being a 11-0 Sixers run. You're really feeling the nerves if you're a Knicks fan. And then in what after everything that happened, I think honestly still probably is the play of the game just because of how big momentum was going back in Philadelphia's direction. Mitchell Robinson gets an offensive rebound on I think it was a Josh Hart 3, and the Knicks were having some real difficult time generating good shots once the Sixers were putting 2 on the ball with Brunson. And Mitchell Robinson gets the ball out, and it ends up being Landry Shamet for a 3-point field goal to make it a 8-point game. That was with 4:34 left in the 4th quarter, and that stopped the bleeding. It gave the Knicks a momentum. And then after Mitchell Robinson had what on the broadcast they said should have been a foul, which I don't know. I thought they were a little bit demonstrative in saying that should have absolutely been a foul. He got credited for the steal. It was either way. It was good defensive play on Joel Embiid, and that turns into a fast break. And at that point, Josh Hart goes to the line for 2 free throws. And even before this point, even before the final 4 minutes and 16 seconds of regulation, the Knicks had already shot themselves in the foot so much from the free throw line in this game. Hart had gone 0 for 2 on a trip before this. Deuce McBride went 0 for 2 on a trip earlier in the game before this. 0 for 2 trips after you foul, they just kill you. They kill you. And I thought if Hart goes 2 for 2 here, puts the Knicks up by 10 and it's like they would have gotten that momentum back, and I think they would have gone on to win a little bit easy. Sure enough, he goes 0 for 2, and then you get Philadelphia making another push here. Now, thankfully, the Sixers are they like having Oubre out there, and he's just not a reliable 3-point shooter. So you had the first of a couple Oubre corner 3 misses that would have been massive in the moment. But we saw OG at the 5 at that point. So Mike Brown puts OG at the 5, which I absolutely loved because you're getting more ball handling, more dribbling, more offense on the floor. Obviously, you don't have Mitchell Robinson for offensive rebounding purposes, but I thought the Sixers started to do a better job down the stretch of the game of trying to box out Mitch. Whatever. It was a tricky decision. Maybe it was Mitch's minute total that influenced this, but I liked him giving OG that challenge to guard Embiid, and I thought overall he did pretty good. Now, that being said, we had OG then with a missed dunk, and then the putback, but then he made up for it because he had a putback after the Landry Shamet miss. So now again, the Knicks starting to get some breathing room, and then all of a sudden you get OG Anunoby 3 to make it 107-102, which felt like almost a dagger. That was after a VJ 3. And then, of course, you had the Landry Shamet 3-pointer with 43 seconds to go to make it 110-102, game over, right? 8-point lead, 43 seconds to go. And yet this team, something in their DNA, and if you've been watching closely for over the last several years, and I know the vast majority of people watching this post-game show or listening to the show have been watching closely over the last bunch of years, you know that even with the reigning clutch player of the year, we'll get to Jalen. Largely had a magnificent game, I should say, but even with the reigning clutch player of the year, this team for years has had something in their DNA that makes them do these kooky things at the end of games and not quite lock in and not quite keep their cool and keep their calm. And obviously, the way that came back to bite them on the biggest stage almost in sports. We don't have to talk about game one, but we all know that happened. And sure enough, here at the end of this game, after a Landry Shamet 3 that should have been game over, what do we got? We got a Maxi 3 that was a deep 3. You want to tell me, okay, fine, Maxi's going to make a 26-footer, but that's what he does. So to not have maybe more of a body on him there or not be a little bit more locked in, but that's the least of their sins. So then you get Edgecombe locking up Brunson, and Mike Brown is not able to call his timeout, which, okay, that they did. Well, actually, I don't know. I think he had enough timeouts that he could have called the timeout there and still had the challenge in his back pocket. But either way, you can't get tied up there. You can't get tied up there. Brunson gets the foul on the jump ball, which, again, it's like one of those freak things. That actually, of all the things that happened in the end, probably upset me the least. Edgecombe makes both free throws, because of course he does. And then, look, did I think it was a foul on Edgecombe that was originally called on Brunson and they overturned? Yeah, I think it was. But again, the fact that the Knicks continue to put themselves in these situations is just it's crazy. So Brunson gets fouled. Thank God he makes the free throw, because it was before the ball was inbounded. And then you get OG gets fouled with 27 seconds to go, and he goes to the line and he hits 1 of 2, which is how nice would it be at some point to get your good free throw shooters, and this team is full of good free throw shooters other than Mitchell Robinson, to just be able to knock down 2 from the line. So you had yet another missed free throw there in a game where you had a million of them already. You give up the layup to Maxi. Okay, fine. You move the ball around. Fine. And then OG has and we know OG is not, when OG's able to dunk it, it's great. Unfortunately, you're not always able to dunk the ball. And when it comes down to his touch around the rim, it's not great. And he went up counting on getting the foul. Meanwhile, he had Josh Hart right next to him, and he could have very easily dumped the ball off to Josh Hart. Look, again, it's you don't want to kill a guy for having the instinct to go up hard at the rim, but this is something that we have seen from OG Anunoby before, including in game 1 against the Indiana Pacers, where that ball gets stripped, and it's arguably the biggest play of the game. So, that gets overturned. Thank the good Lord. Tyrese Maxey, whether it's he made a poor decision, the Knicks obviously tried to foul there. They didn't get the foul called. He airballs the 3. Ball gets inbounded to the one guy you want with the ball in his hands. And then just because we hadn't had enough pain over these last several minutes, Jalen Brunson somehow goes 0 for 2 from the line. So that, by my count, the 4th trip a Knick free throw shooter. And I'll pull up the free throw percentages of all the guys that I'm talking about right now, because all of them are good free throw shooters. Every single one of them are good free throw shooters. And to have those 4 separate 0 for 2 trips is just mind-boggling. Yeah, hold on. I got it right here. Brunson, 85.2% from the line. Hart, 78.9% from the line. And then Deuce, 84.6% from the line. So these guys are all great free throw shooters. So, just pretty maddening. But OG Anunoby makes up for, his error and his missed free throw with the steal on Joel Embiid to end the game. And it's just, it's frustrating, because I should be sitting here having nothing, but because you're never going to win a ball game perfect. You're never going to look perfect. You're never going to be without mistakes in close games. The way the NBA is today, the way guys, defenders are petrified of giving up a big 3, fouling on a 3. The 3-point proficiency of so many different players around the league has just changed these end of game situations so much, which is why I think you see these crazy end of game situations, including, by the way, against this same Philadelphia 76ers team, 2 years ago in the playoffs when they overcame that 5-point deficit in the last, whatever it was, 15 seconds. So, I don't want to be sitting here spending most of the opening monologue voicing frustrations, but as I always tell you guys, I'm not going to sit up here and say something that I don't feel. And I'd be lying if I was up here and I was all hunky dory and it's like, yeah, some stuff didn't go great at the end, but like, I just wish this team would get their shit together in these situations. I really would like them to do that for my own health. Now that is said, they deserve an immense amount of praise for today. They deserve an immense amount of praise today for coming out and I think playing good ball, withstanding the Embiid charge, putting together an utterly unbelievable third quarter. And yes, after the Sixers made their initial push in the fourth quarter, which the Knicks definitely played a role in doing, there were some absolutely massive, massive stands. OG Anunoby, tons of big plays down the stretch. Mitchell Robinson, I mean, I don't know if Mitch is going to be my player of the game. I think he probably is. He ended up with only 6 offensive rebounds, only 10 rebounds total. But man, if you watch this game and you watch the impact that Mitchell Robinson had defensively, he was a plus 14 in a game they won by 3. That is not an accident. I thought Mitchell Robinson's fingerprints were all over this game. He started to slow down Embiid. It was his defense on Embiid that got Embiid to slow down at the start of the third quarter. I thought he did a fantastic job in every facet of the basketball game. Like I said, OG Anunoby, despite those couple of things that you wish maybe you could have had back, 23 points, 10 of 15 from the field, 2 or 3 from deep, absolutely spectacular line from him. And then the roommates. Landry Shamet, unsung hero. I mean, he hit the 2 biggest threes of the game, or 2 of the 3 biggest threes of the game. You want to talk about circle of trust? Hey, Mr. 5 first-round picks, you're going to go over here and have a seat on the bench. I'm going to bring in your old Phoenix teammate who is on a minimum contract that I don't even know if that contract is fully guaranteed yet. I think maybe it has fully guaranteed, but it wasn't even a guaranteed contract. I'm going to bring him in and I'm going to close the game with him. And you know what? It was the absolute right move to do so because that dude, Landry Shamet, not only does he have ice water in his veins in terms of from deep, 3 of 7 overall, including those 2 massive ones in the fourth quarter, but that dude fights like fucking hell around every screen. And I like Mikal Bridges a lot. I do. I'm sure somebody's going to bring up the report from Jake Fisher earlier today. We'll get to that. I want him here. I like him as a Knick. I mean that. I like him as a Knick. And I'm not going to sit here and say that about everybody. Touch his nose. I like Mikal Bridges as a Knick, but man, you could learn a couple of lessons watching Landry Shamet get around screens on defense. So big time from Landry Shamet. And then, the roommates. 4 missed free throws from Hart. Those 2 missed free throws from Brunson at the end. They both do things in their own way that drive you nuts sometimes. And yet both of these were really, 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 really strong games. Josh Hart, almost a triple-double. Of course, he gets only 7 assists. Thanks, Mikal. It should have been about 12. And then Brunson with the 31, 6, and 5. 2 turnovers, not ideal, but look, it is what it is. I thought Brunson and they needed Brunson's offense in such a big way. He was their offense in this game. Let's just call it like it was. When Brunson was on the floor, they scored baskets. When Brunson was not on the floor, kind of tough. And I actually makes me want to pull up their offensive rating in this game when Jalen Brunson was off the court. I should be able to do that right now. But man, it is the wildest game of the year so far. I know this team has played a lot of wild games over the years. This is up there with any of them. Fitting for a matinee on ABC. And look, is this game solving any big picture issues or telling us anything about the big picture for this team? I don't know. I think, look, it's January 24th. Trade deadline is in less than 2 weeks. It's going to be in about 11 days, 12 days, maybe. Yeah. 12 days. Given the Antetokounmpo report today, it would seem surprising to me if this team did anything in the next 12 days that would jeopardize what they think is their best chance to land Antetokounmpo this summer. I know there's a lot of people out there right now who don't want to hear the name Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like, the Knicks are still, they could still come out of the East, like the whole thing. Like, look, I don't know what to say about the team at this point because, like, look, they could have lost this game. They shouldn't have, obviously, but they could have lost this game. And if they lost this game, depending on how one or two other things would have gone over the next 48 hours, they could have gone into the Kings game on Tuesday 6th in the East. So, and like, look, yeah, you could tell me, they were in a funk and this and that, and they're tired and all this other. Like, look, you are what your record says you are. Like this team, the front office, I don't know if they're still going to be here, if depending on what happens the rest of the season, into next year. But like, I do not think that they are going to jeopardize the potential opportunity to trade for that guy. And my guess is they already have a pretty good idea of where they stand in the trade sweepstakes, such as they exist. So that's not to say that the next 11 days, they won't try to make improvements. I think they absolutely will, as they should. But it's just, the team is in a very interesting spot right now. They're in a very interesting spot because they clearly, have weaknesses, very discernible weaknesses. I'm happy after this game. I feel like we could at least get back to kind of talking about basketball and like what this team needs. And yeah, you could sit here and you could talk to me about how a point of attack defender and another creator on the floor, a guy who go out there and, get you a bucket if you need, and play a little defense, or having a different, another big man to throw in there, if, as opposed to freaking aerial hook board. We could talk about how all that stuff, makes them a better team, and they maybe the next time they play this game might not be as close of a game. We could talk about all of it. I don't know. I'm utterly fascinated by where they are right now and what the next couple of weeks are going to look like. But all in all, I'm going to be encouraged by this win. I'm going to feel good about this win because you don't feel bad about any win. You feel good about every win, almost no matter what. And that is a flawed Philadelphia team, but they're a good team. They're a real team. And if these two teams end up playing each other in the first round, oh my God, I don't know that my heart will be able to withstand that. As I see on the bottom of the screen, he just popped up. Gentleman that I think is going to come up and maybe have a
you are the least subtle human being that's ever existed. I swear. I was going to surprise the people, but then you saw the thing. And
but they didn't know who it was.
Who do they think is usually going to pop up? Can we just do the thing?
Maybe it's Santa.
Can we just do the thing? Can we take the next 10 seconds and laugh at the city of Philadelphia and those loser 76ers?
Okay. That's good. You're good at this.
It's okay. Philadelphia, you'll be fine. You just signed Bo Bichette to a 7-year. Oh, wait, that's right. We got that too.
Can I just add something to that?
What's up?
Fuck Joel Embiid.
Fuck Joel Embiid forever and ever. Nice second half. It's a shame you have to play against centers that actually guard you every now and then, Joel. Yeah, that's a story you can deal with. Oh my goodness, that was fun. That third quarter was my favorite quarter, maybe of all time.
It was arguably the best quarter of their season.
It was, yes. But don't worry. Somehow they'll blame the Eagles offensive coordinator for why that third quarter went wrong. Because after you won a Super Bowl, all you did is bitch and complain about your football team, Philadelphia. All of you can kick rocks. I hope it snows 800 feet in Philadelphia. It's going to snow 800 feet here, too.
I was about to say, if you don't wish that upon Philly, because I'm the asshole with a house now.
Oh, that's right. So now you empathize with people that have to shovel out of snow and whatnot. Listen, bravo to the New York Knicks. Pulled it out. Fellas, I'm not in the best of shape in my life. Cat, I feel you with the back spasms. You probably shouldn't have played today if you had anything like what my back has been in the last week. I'm not in the best of shape. Haven't played professional basketball once in my life. I made free throws at the end of an important game. You should take notes, is all I'm going to say, is make your free throws, fellas. Because goodness gracious, that was terrifying. Jalen, one would have ended the game.
They need you.
One.
You would be the clutch player of the year if you
just for that shot, just for those free throws. My goodness, that was terrifying. Just one needed to go down. That was terrifying. All right, enjoy the post game, everybody. LOL, Philadelphia forever. Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart have more banners in that building than Joel Embiid ever will. Good night.
Thank you, Andrew Claudio. It's always great to see Andrew. Okay. Last thing before we get to our best bets, I want to shout out a very nice Knicks fan that I met yesterday, Maureen. Shout out to her, and also shout out to the Tom Thibodeau of Stanford. Want to get that in. Okay, let us get to our best bets, presented by, of course, Fanatics Sportsbook. We had 3 wagers today. Some went better than others. So let's just go in order here. Andrew Claudio thinking Tyrese Maxey was going to have his way with the Knicks. Why wouldn't he think that? Because he always has his way with the Knicks, except today, thank goodness, Tyrese Maxey was human. Not that he shot it that poorly. He just didn't shoot it that much, probably because Embiid had to go in the first half. But again, credit to the Knicks for kind of containing Maxey. 22 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists. So he didn't get that number. Mensa went with Jalen Brunson over 27.5 points, which looked like it was going to hit the way over. There is someone out there who had Jalen Brunson over or 32 or more points that is stumbling in traffic right now. And I just want to send my heart out to that person. And I hope you didn't have a parlay based on that, where that it would have hit if not for that. And then Sean with the W, Deuce for Pride, 13.5 points plus rebounds. I absolutely loved this when I saw it. And I went out and actually I made one of my betting and sweating picks, which we don't have to talk about, was McBride over 2.5 threes. Unfortunately, Deuce McBride went 1 of 8 from deep and finished with 9 points and 1 rebound. So we only went 1 for 3 for today, but at least it came in a Knicks win. So those are our official best bets presented by Fanatics Sportsbook, which you can see in the Fanatics Sportsbook app before every Knicks game. So shout out to them. Yes, Andrew.
Hold on. Mark, you come up here too? I want to see if you can confirm this for me. There's some breaking news, John.
Let me check my phone. Did I miss something?
Hold on. Breaking news. Tony Brothers just missed another call.
I can confirm that.
You confirm that. Okay. Yes. Tony Brothers. 2 missed calls just in the last 30 seconds while you were doing that.
Another one on Brunson.
Another one on Brunson. I believe he saw Brunson walking out of the arena and called a travel, even though he doesn't have a basketball in his hands. Okay.
He got his
confused. Oh my God. I can't believe the end of that game.
Traveling out of the arena.
Traveling out of the arena is what he called.
Yeah.
I also got to say, God bless him. PJ Carlissimo has been in the league for a long time. An outstanding career. I understand it's complicated, his relationship to your favorite Knick of all time. Mm-hmm. But PJ, midway through the fourth quarter, oh yeah, the Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson went to Villanova. Brother, it might be time. It just might be time. I hear the weather's warm in Florida.
I like PJ on the call. I like PJ on the call.
John,
I know
John,
you don't.
The
Night?
whole game.
Tonight?
I know you're going to empathize with every old coach that has ever called the game ever. It might be time, man. Like midway, oh, guys, don't worry. Tony Brothers is one of the best of the game as he misses another blatant call.
Man. Yeah.
That was a painful Tony Brothers game.
Yes, it was.
Extremely painful.
Hold on. Stay up here
painful.
for 5 seconds while I switch off of Wi-Fi and onto wire.
You got it. You got it. That was a fun game, Mark.
That might have been the most angry actually I've been all year.
Really?
Strangely enough. Yeah. Because I think, like you alluded, John, it felt like there were multiple times in that fourth quarter that we should have just pulled away with that game. And like Andrew was alluding to, Mr. Brothers was that might have been the worst
Mr. Brothers.
the worst ref Tony Brothers game I've ever seen.
It was bad. Yeah.
All right.
We have a promotion to give real quick, Mark.
Last thing.
As we get texted about it.
Yeah. Last thing before we get to the super chats. Watch party coming up. Imagine if the game at the watch party is as fun and exciting as this one. Friday, February 6th. That will be at or against Detroit. So obviously the rematch. It's going to be at Penn 6. We're back at Penn 6 where we've had our last couple watch parties. That's on 31st Street, right down the block from Madison Square Garden. Going to be a great time. So make sure you put that on your calendars. We will promote that, or we will remind you of that moving forward. And yeah, I think that's it. Did I forget anything?
Live producing. Sean, ask Gio to make a graphic, and then we can really promote it. But yes, we have a watch party on Friday the 6th. The Friday before the Super Bowl, the day after the trade deadline, Friday the 6th. Ooh. So that might be Giannis's first game as a Knick. Who knows? Oh.
I do not think it will be.
Oh, wait. Sean just texted us he did. Where's the banner? Oh, you probably asked him. So it's in process is what you're saying.
There we go.
Oh. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, God.
I'm being told Tony Brothers just missed another call.
Confirmed.
Okay.
He's going to find out about this shit and miss more calls against the Knicks.
He's going to try to log in here, but he'll get the wrong call. He get the wrong link, probably. He'll need replay to confirm what link to use to log in.
I'll say this. I don't normally have a problem with Tony Brothers, honestly. I've kept track of his games. I honestly don't. I usually see him and I'm like, all right, I feel pretty confident in his ability to call a fair game. Tonight, I mean, especially down the stretch, it felt like I know it's not this way, but it did feel like he was targeting Brunson.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I don't know what went.
Think about this, Mark. If there wasn't replay, he would have called a jump ball with Paul George wrapped around his back. The actual jump ball foul was a foul on Brunson. I'll give him that. But then the VJ foul that was and away from the play. If we don't have replay, then that's also another foul that Tony Brothers missed. So he was bad. And it's why I think, I'm sorry, John, it was compounded by PJ just defending him. My friend Tony Brothers, he's left and right. He knows what he's doing. And PJ, I hear it's nice in Florida, man. Like, it's about to snow a ton in the Northeast. I'm sure you'd love it down there. You never have to hear from anybody else again. You can just tell stories. You can come on this pod. You're a former Knicks coach. I'm sure John would do.
Why don't we get him on this pod?
Why not? Let him retire first. Let him retire first. How about this? You're invited on the Knicks Film School podcast if you retire.
I'll probably have to take
stipulations.
I'll probably have to take.
How many Sprewell posters you got behind you, John? I'm sure that'll go great. Hold on. Now we have to do this. No, that's smart. We got to get John in a one shot and then show off how. Where's the Sprewell poster? There's literally one right behind you.
It's not only that, but there's a figurine of Sprewell in which he's clutching a basketball behind his head. I can't reach it. I'm not gonna get it right. But if you move maybe I should move the arms forward and remove the basketball and put like a Ken doll or something.
Oh dear! Hands are. He's choking the Ken doll. Choking the Ken doll. Yes, I'm sure that would go over well.
Let's put that right in front.
After the game he just called, he might not even notice it, John. Okay. Fellas, I want to be clear. I respect PJ Carlissimo. I got nothing against older people. I got nothing against older people. I want to be one day. I just want to make sure It's all clear.
Yeah, this is not ageism.
When he looked up with 3 minutes left, it was like, oh, yeah, they went to Villanova. I was like, oh, my gosh, brother.
I can't believe I can't believe that game ended the way it did.
Well, thankfully, losers.
Oh, last thing, both of you guys, and we'll get to the super chats. How much of you think Mikal's game today had to do with that report that
didn't
Portland...
it come out like while he was warming up?
I think it came out. I mean,
report.
I don't think he saw it.
So if you don't know, I should probably tell our listeners and viewers.
It might be worth.
Jake in Mark Steinline newsletter, Jake Fisher reported that the Giannis trade is now looking like more of a draft night thing. Probably not going to get traded before this deadline, and that that would make it easier to have like multi-team trades, not just 2-team trades. And oh, by the way, Portland has been angling to maybe get in or already preparing to get in as a third team in a potential deal. And oh, by the way, Portland has long coveted Mikal Bridges.
And the part that, John, I don't think you just said was that Portland owns the draft rights of the Milwaukee's 2028 pick, 2029 pick, and 2030 pick. Not that all three they could get from Mikal, but maybe just giving Milwaukee a pick of their own back.
Yeah, getting them back,
Yeah. So my answer to your question is if Mikal Bridges saw it, he's entirely too online. If he's subscribed to Mark Stein's Substack newsletter, then we have bigger problems. I don't think he saw it, John. I don't think he saw it.
Okay. All right. Look, I'm just saying he's coming home to Philly. That's where he's from. Doesn't he usually play pretty well in Philly?
Right. So maybe he just had a bad game.
Okay.
I've heard players do that.
I'm just asking the question.
PJ Carlissimo just had a bad game.
God.
Tony Brothers just had a bad game.
Well, okay. I just asked the question. That's all.
I know.
Just wanted to ask.
It's a fair question to ask. I don't think that's what caused his bad game, is what I'll say. I saw him drive to the rim and take contact from Joel Embiid on a play. I don't know why that didn't happen the rest of the game.
I was about to say, it would be great if he did that anytime again.
Right, in the fourth quarter. I think he just had a bad game. Like, once your shot doesn't fall the first 10.
Although it might lend credence to John's argument if he did hear something.
No. Andrew could never give credit to any argument that I have.
There's just, if we find out, how about this? If we find out after the game that Mikal Bridges was reading Mark Stein's Substack, and he walked out.
I don't think he was reading it, but
hold on,
maybe he heard.
Wait a sec. We know how this actually goes, right? Is like his agent comes up to him or calls him before the game. Is like, hey, just so you know, this is going to be in this. This is going to be out there now. Just FYI or something. I want you to hear it from me.
Did the article mention that the Blazers covet Mikal Bridges specifically?
It's like the headline, really, if you're a Knicks fan and you're reading it. Yeah.
Wow.
Not like the actual headline, but it's the thing that stands out if you're a Knicks fan and you're reading this. Sean, I'm just going to put up a super chat real quick. Sean says, players check their phones at halftime. He was bad in the first half. So I don't know why the halftime checking of the phone would suddenly make him like retroactively also bad. He was also good in that third quarter. When
he was very good in the third. It was very good defensively.
I just think he shot poorly. I don't think it was necessarily.
Andrew, I hope so. And I meant what I said before, and this, because you hear what I have to say about players offline. I don't mind Mikal Bridges. I like Mikal Bridges. I don't love Mikal Bridges, but I like him. I do like him. I like him as a Knick.
Right. If he didn't have 5 picks attached to him, I don't think anybody would have anything derogatory to say about him. He would just be like a nice role player. Unfortunately, they traded 5 picks for a nice role player.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. That's the flip side. He needs to be more than just a nice role player.
Because they traded 5 picks for him.
He's also now tied to $100 and whatever the fuck $1 million. He's going to be due $40 million a year after this year.
But if at times he's their 4th best player. Like, that's really all I need him to be. And tonight, he wasn't. He had a bad night.
And they got him to be the 4th best player in the league. Is that fair to say?
Yes. And tonight he wasn't.
And tonight he wasn't.
At times he has been.
Well, a lot of times he has been. He has not been that for the better part of.
Has OG been their 3rd best player for the better part of 3?
No, both of those guys.
It's a collective thing is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think his bad game had anything to do with Mark Stein's Substack is all I'm saying. I think
it's probably
maybe his agent might have said something to him like a week ago, and maybe that explains what their play has been. I thought he was fine on defense in the third quarter.
He was better than fine. He was really good.
And as a result, I thought like he finally had a center partner that could actually defend, so he could be a little more aggressive. So, but that's something for you to talk about with the super chatters. Okay, my Uber's here and waiting for me. I gotta go.
Have fun. Thank you, Andrew.
Good night.
Thank you, Mark. And thank you, everybody, for your patience. Let us hear what you guys want to talk about. Here we go. All right. Mark, if there were a bunch of these before the end of the game, let me know. But I'm sure I could probably figure it out as I'm going along at the same time. And happy Saturday, by the way, everybody. Okay, so we got about a half dozen before the end of the game. Vintage Larry Wu, what's going on, man? I hate Joel Embiid as a human, not just as a player. Me too. You know, I really like. He's my least favorite player in the league right now. He's my least favorite. Is he? I'm trying to think when's the last time I've truly hated someone like on another basketball team. Because I think he is, like I say a lot of mean shit about Karl Anthony Towns. I think Joel is worse. Because Joel is a guy that he is a bully. And then when he gets hit with adversity, he whines and cries and bitches and moans and woe is me and all of the nonsense. And he now has Mark is saying two Pacers, Reggie and Halliburton. Both are good choices. Obviously, Reggie's like Reggie, but no, I don't know that I even hated Reggie to the degree that I hate Joel Embiid, because I do believe he is a horrendous human being. And he's smart. He's so smart. So this whole media narrative with him that's over the last few years, I just want to enjoy playing basketball again, yada, yada, yada. Well, maybe you shouldn't eat a fucking sack of cheeseburgers over your first, routinely over your first couple of years in the league. Maybe you should have made conditioning a priority literally at any point in time that you were a basketball player. When you fuck with the basketball gods have a way of fucking back. And everything that has happened to Joel Embiid, from an injury standpoint, from a Ben Simmons standpoint, from whatever you want to talk about, he has earned it. He deserves it, and he deserves a lot more where that comes from. Fuck him and fuck wherever he came from. Next. Thank you, Larry. Chris Dayton, what's going on, Chris? Was the last month just a bad dream? I think so. Is this part of the bad? Was today part of the bad dream or not part of the bad dream? Well, if you sent this in before the game, you were probably referring to this not being part of the bad dream. So, yeah, man, this season's turning into something funky. Thanks, Chris. Riyadh, what's going on, Riyadh? Live from the game, 23-24, deja vu. Cat hurt or pouting. No, look, I think he was hurt. Let me just be very clear about that. I think he was hurting. I think something was bothering him. No, I'm not going to. I think he was hurt. Let's end it there. If you're, and it was good of him to go out there and try. It would have been nice if he could have, as we have seen many players, great players and otherwise, go out and still be effective even when they are hurting, because that is part of your job as a professional athlete. And if I'm being unfair here, somebody call me out on it, because I'm more than happy to consider anything to the contrary. Part of you're as a professional athlete, you're never going to be in peak physical condition. And part of your job as a professional athlete is to go out there and overcome when you are nicked up and when you're not feeling 100%. None of these guys are 100%. Now, obviously, there's grades, degrees to this. And, look, tonight, his team against a guy who was clearly having a night could have used a little bit more from Cat on the defensive end. They didn't get it. Look, it happens. Move on and go on and hopefully it's better the next game. That's it. That's all I got to say about Karl Anthony Towns. Bulldog basketball promo. What's going on, man? Shout out Huck for the fourth quarter defensive rebounding and energy. I thought he did a nice job. I thought he did a nice job. Played 4 minutes. He was a -3. It's like, listen, man, that's a big time stage to be on. And you're out there and I'm pretty sure Embiid was out there for some of those minutes, if not all those minutes. He did his job. Porty did his job. Came down with 3 rebounds in 4 minutes. That's fine. Got a basket. I thought I wrote down the play that he got the basket on. I guess I didn't. But he's active. He's always moving around. Like, look, he's a breaking case of emergency big, and that's fine. Thanks, man. Norman Jean King, trade Cat for, I'm not going to read that word. I don't care. He's not playable. Well, unfortunately, even if the Knicks wanted to do that, it's $53 million worth of the stuff that you're talking about, and then $117 million over the next 2 years combined. Which is why I'll say again, if anybody missed it, I said it after I made the comp after what post game was it? After the Mavs post game, that I thought he would return he would have Trae Young's trade value. And then Fred Katz went out there on his podcast a couple days later and said the exact same thing based on things that people he had talked to around the league. So look, you got to make it work with Cat right now. They're not going to, they're not going to salary dump him. They're not going to salary dump him. They're just not. We'll see what happens with him this summer, but they're not going to salary dump him. I promise you that. Another one from Norman Jean King. The game needs to be investigated. So one-sided. Look, it's bad officiating kind of overarches overall when it's bad. But it's bad a lot more than it should be in the NBA. I'll say that. Robert Cross. Oh, Robert. First time, long time. It's your boy John. Time to move off of Cutlets for an expiring contract and a pair of second rounders. Mitch now, Mitch forever. Hashtag 53 wins. I'm not going to lie, Robert. I was trying to pre-work on Monday's newsletter on a couple of guys that have come up in connection to the Knicks, as far as guys they've maybe kicked the tires on, one of which is Yves Missi of the New Orleans Pelicans. I think that might have been per Michael Scotto on the Putback with Ian. And I just, looking at the situation, like if they actually are kicking the tires on Missi, that would seem to me to be an indication that, maybe they're not confident either Mitch comes back. They could resign Mitch next year or whatever the case may be. And I'm like almost done with the newsletter. And I got up to the point where I wrote a paragraph, which basically I'm summarizing. It's like, you can make all the logical arguments in the world. Injury, he's the uncertainty of the contract, the fact that, his free throws are always going to be an issue. So on and so forth, about why there might be a logical reason to move off of Mitchell Robinson. And then you watch him in these games, and you watch him in a game like tonight, and you watch him in the NBA Cup final against the Spurs, and you watch him in now multiple playoff series, so many big games, and you're like, yeah, there are times where he's maybe not going to be as effective, or not effective because he's not playing because he's in street clothes. But they're just, I just don't like the list of guys in the NBA, non-star players, the list of non-star players who can completely change the complexion of a basketball game just by being out there and doing what they do and dictate a result because of that. And it's not like this is a once a month thing for Mitch. He does this a lot. I just don't know. You could throw all the logic in the world at me. I just like, if I was running the Knicks, I could be looking at a trade and be like, yeah, man, this checks a lot of boxes, checks boxes for this year, checks boxes for next year, yada, yada, yada. And then I'd watch a game like this. If I was running the Knicks, I'd be like, what are we on, fucking drugs? How would we how do we move this? Like, man, I love Mitch. I really do. I love Mitch, and I hope he's here for a long time. That's all I'll say. Thanks, Robert. Couple from Mr. Fabro here. Breaking news: Mitchell Robinson has grabbed another offensive rebound. It felt like he grabbed like 15 today. He only grabbed 6, but I think that number is deceiving. And there were so many. There were so many that were just absolutely huge. None bigger than the one that led to the Shamet 3, but there were more. I'm looking here at my notes for the. They had, but also it wasn't just him, But here's the thing, right? And this is why, by the way, the number's only 6. First of all, well, actually, no, not first of all. I sound like Chuck. It's the only point I'm gonna make. When he is out there, the reason why he has, and shout out, he is the defensive player of the game. The reason why the team, their offensive rebounding percentage goes up by so much. There's no player in the league whose team's offensive rebounding percentage increases by more when they are in the game than Mitchell Robinson. And that's according to Cleaning Glass. And what is truly insane about that stat is that's an on-off stat, meaning it not only incorporates what the player does on the offensive glass or the impact he has on the offensive glass when he is in the game, but it also incorporates what is happening on the offensive glass when he is out of the game. And here's the thing. The Knicks are a really good offensive rebounding team when Mitchell is not in the game because Cat's a decent offensive rebounder. Hart is in for a lot of those minutes. He's good on the offensive glass. Like, it is, it's just, it is a testament to him how much he changes everything. So a lot of those offensive rebounds that other guys get, he's indirectly responsible for those. And defensively, he was great too. So just great all around, A+ stuff from Mitch. Thanks, Mr. Fabro. And another one, breaking news, the Knicks have gone 0 for 2 from the line once again. And none of them were Mitch. How about that? Crazy stuff. All right. Shaq the Great. What's going on, Shaq the Great? I'm fucking back. Landry Shamet. Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. Landry Shamet, like, rock solid top 8 rotation player for a team that's trying to win a championship. Like, I struggle to envision a world where, like, a trade that the Knicks make that pushes him from that top 8. Mike Brown has so much trust in him, and it is 1,000% justified. He's such a gamer. 20, but I do play 25 minutes tonight. Think about that. 25. And he was a +3 in that time. He was really good. Thanks, Shaq. Kevin Danishevsky, I'm happy we got what was ultimately a really good win, but I didn't understand some of the decisions Brown made, taking Mitch out late, and then Cat and McCall, man, yikes. So if there's other stuff, there were moments where Mitch was, where Brown, like, where he didn't challenge. I forget what he didn't challenge, but it ended up turning out to be the right move, because if he challenged on whatever it was I was thinking about, I think it was a non-foul where they even commented on the broadcast, I don't see much there. If he used the challenge there, and then if he used the challenge that Brunson was jumping up and down for him to utilize, if he used both them, then he runs out of challenges, and then he doesn't have the challenge left for the pivotal, challenge of the game. Now, maybe tell me you wouldn't challenge the Brunson one to leave one in his back pocket. I don't know. As far as taking Mitch out, I appreciated and understood wanting to get 5 quality offensive players who could all dribble, pass, and shoot on the floor at the same time, knowing that they were going to put 2 on the ball with Brunson and knowing you needed to have everybody out there who could do all of those things. I understand your qualm. I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm definitely right. But it is, I'm not going to kill him for that. Thanks, Kev. Christopher Smith, what's going on, Chris? Not perfect, but showed great grit, which was missing in the last 10 days. Got to make them free throws up the Knickerbockers. Maybe that should be the big takeaway. A team that showed almost no grit for the better part of 3 weeks. No grit at the beginning of games, no grit at the end of games. I mean, think about obviously we know some of their no-show jobs, but like kind of weren't able to close it out, even though it was a tie game at one point versus Phoenix. Wilted against Golden State down the stretch. No show out of the gate against Sacramento. No show the whole game against Dallas. No show the whole game against Detroit. Wilted down the stretch the last time they played Philly. Wilted, didn't have any kind of semblance of offense, against Atlanta. Wilted down the stretch against San Antonio. There's a lot of wiltings here, So for them to, even with these issues, for them to come through and have not one big time push, which they had in the third quarter, but then have a little bit left in reserve there towards the end of the fourth to make just enough plays to get them that second significant lead that, again, should have ended the game and didn't. Maybe that's the most important thing, even though this game was a lot closer than it should have been. Thanks, Chris. Jerry Mercandetti. Free Chick-fil-A should not impact free throws like that. Man, look, Chick-fil-A is fine, but the way that fans get so crazy about that is a little insane to me. That's me. I get it. It's a fun thing, but whatever. Thanks, Jay. Wondering Tumnus. What's going on, Wondering? Hate to say I was relieved when Cat fouled out. So much more enjoyable to watch without him. Take the win and run. Then Mikal Deuce are 2 for 17 from 3. Probably the most positive spin that we could put on this game is that the Knicks won a game, the supposed offense first team, can only win with offense, yada, yada, yada. They won when they shot 44% from the field, 34% from 3, and probably their 2 best 3-point shooters combined to, as you say, go 2 of 17 from 3. The fact that they still managed to win this game, I would say overall, zooming out, is a really good sign. As for Cat, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just gonna say you weren't the only one who was relieved. I'll leave it at that. But bad back. So thanks, Wondering Tumnus. Next up, Anthony Sixto. What's going on, Anthony? Ugly, but it was good to see them gut it out. Step by step, get right. Mitch alley-oop between lockdown possessions versus Embiid. Yes, sequence of the game. 100%. 100%. I completely agree. It was a tour de force for Mitch. He was the player of the game. And the more I talk about it, the more I'm realizing it was not even close. He was unequivocally the play of the game. So, yeah. Thanks, Anthony. Hush, what's going on, Hush Zoo? Get these 2 losers off the team and let's win a chip. Listen, here's the thing. The offseason is going to be the offseason. And Giannis Antetokounmpo is going to get traded this offseason. And the Knicks are going to be in on it. Unless they win a championship. If they win a championship, I have no idea what would happen on the Giannis front, but I'll be happy to have that conversation another day. So Embiid's Antetokounmpo is going to get traded in the offseason. Knicks are going to be in on it. There'll be other teams that maybe will try to convince him that they are the place for him. But it sounds like now the Knicks are going to have a path to getting the Bucks enough of what they want as they pivot into a rebuild, which they should absolutely want to pivot into. It sounds like they may be able to skirt a little bit the fact that Cat is not going to get, be valued by like a lot in any deal. I mean, maybe, never say never, but that's an off-season thing. Mikal Bridges and Karl-Anthony Towns have made a lot of big plays for your franchise. I understand there's a lot of frustration with both of them, not just for this game, but going back more. They're here. Like, they're going to be here for the rest of this year, and this team can win the championship, or they can at least make the finals this year. So let's, my 2 cents would be embrace that they're here as much as possible. And as I say that, I know myself, and I know I'm not always going to embrace like them and one guy in particular. Okay. Per New York Basketball's Twitter accounts, always great. Josh Hart has passed Marcus Camby, Tyson Chandler, Larry Johnson, and Allen Houston on the Knicks all-time rebounders list. He's now 32nd with 1,854 rebounds in the last 3 years. Great stat. Josh Hart I love Josh Hart. That's why I'm wearing my little Brunson and Hart NBA Jam shirt today. I got this for Christmas. First time I've worn it. Well, when I was like, let me show my belief in Brunson and Hart. That's why I wore this for the whole game. And it was mostly paid off, give or take some free throws. Thanks, Hush. Hey, Ferg, what's going on, man? Team is still too unserious for me. Philly lost this game and wasted key opportunities to take the game in the fourth. Still out on Cat. Mitch saved us. Yeah, I'm sure Philly feels like they blew the game, but they also got rattled and like they had every opportunity. Like, think about it. Philadelphia got one of the all-time halves. Maybe not all-time halves, but they got a insane half from Joel Embiid. And despite the fact that they got an insane half from Joel Embiid, and despite the fact that the Knicks went 2 of 13 from 3 in the second quarter, they only took a 6-point lead into halftime. So right off the bat, if you're a Philly fan, you're like, I don't love that. And then the team completely disintegrated in the third quarter. So yeah, I'm sure Philly's mad at themselves, and they do have some right to be mad at themselves because they had opportunities. But the Knicks did really well to stay, they didn't wilt in the first half. They did everything they did, up until the last however many minutes of the game. So I agree with you. They are too unserious for my liking as well, but they're also working through it. And I'm gonna choose to continue to be optimistic on that front. Thanks, Haitian. Appreciate you, man. Ziad with another one. That third quarter stretch, you noticed who was off the court. Yeah, I mean, it was impossible not to notice. I mean, they wouldn't have been defending like that if Cat was off the court. And again, all the offensive rebounds. Now, look, the thing with all those offensive rebounds, those were off of missed shots. So you could also look at it the other way and be like, well, the Knicks had a lot of misses, and maybe that says something about their offense and this and that, without Cat there. Look, Cat's a positive when it comes to the offense. He always is. Just his presence is so helpful. And yet, I with all due respect to the data, and it's very real, there are times where you watch him, and it's not every game, and it's not even most games, but there are some games where you're like, man, I kind of feel like they'd be better if he was not on the floor. And I think this is one of those games, but again, he had a bad back. So there you go. This from Chris Winfield. The Sixers wanted to hack a Mitch with Cat fouled out. And that's part of why Mike Brown went small with OG Anunoby. Okay. Standy Andy, what's going on? Wasn't a 54-point win like we're used to, but let's go next. I tell you, if they would have marched on to like a 20-plus point win, and didn't have that nonsense happen over the last 8 minutes, and in particular the last 45 seconds of the fourth quarter, that would have been cool. I would have liked that. Would have been fun. Alas, but it's a win. A win is a win, and at this point, the Knicks should not turn down any of those, especially when they're in such a precarious, excuse me, place in the standings. Currently third, game and a half behind Boston, tied with Toronto, although percentage points ahead. The Raptors play some crappy team over the next few days, I think. And then, of course, the Knicks have a game coming up against the Raptors. That's going to be a big game. Hold on. I'm sorry. The Raptors don't play a crappy team. The Raptors play the Thunder in OKC. Excuse me. And then they play the Knicks. So look, hopefully the Knicks could put some distance by the time. And in between, the Knicks play the Kings. Guys, if you don't go kick the shit out of the Kings in your building, all the goodwill from the last 2 days or last two games, we're gonna flush that right down the toilet. And yes, shout out to Chris Winfield for appearing on After School yesterday with Sean and Jeff. Great stuff from him. Apollo Freed, what's going on, Apollo? Cat with 6 of the worst fouls you'll ever see. I'm gonna give him a pass on the one that was literally a fingertip, but like, because I can't very well sit here and complain that like Cat never gets his hand in the airspace of shooters, and then give him crap for literally it was like a fingernail. The other 5 were pretty atrocious. I'll donate my ankles and shoulders to Shamit and Mitch if they need it. That's very kind of you. I would do the same. Thanks, Paulo. Bill Peterfriend. This was cardiac Knicks win for sure. They gutted it out, not out of it. Take the win and focus on the win. I'm trying, which is why I felt kind of bad doing the opening like I did. But I just, man, when they put you through it like that, but you look, hey, you know what's better than or you know what's not as good as a win with like that? A loss. Yes, you don't want that. Yeah, thanks, Bill, and thank you, Mark, for those kind words. All right, next up, Robert Cross. First time, long time at your boy John. 5 first-round picks for Bridges? ? Kevin's never going to live that down. Was Kevin the GM who did that? That's for sure. Let's go Knicks. # 53 wins. Look, it's quote Brian Windhorst. Winning a championship means you never having to say you're sorry. And if the Knicks win a championship with any iteration of this core, every move they've made, the Bridges trade, the Cat trade, I don't know if there's people out there that are critical of the OG trade. I know OG, has some misgivings, but maybe there's some people critical of that. Anything, they're drafting, the Grimes trade. My God, forget about the Grimes trade sometimes. He didn't do anything today. Did he score? I don't think he scored today. If he did score, I forgot it. Maybe he scored and there were 4 points, 2 of 6. 0 of 4 from 3. That hurt them. His 0 of 4 from 3 hurt them, and then Oubre missing the corner threes hurt them as well. So look, that means never having to say you're sorry, but if they don't win a championship, there's going to be a lot of wondering. And that's going to, I don't know. Is that going to be the first thing that people wonder about? Maybe. We'll see. A lot of basketball left to be played. Thanks, Robert. Luke Shamoon. What's going on, Luke? The Giannis exclusive period was exact week Bridges extension. Is it possible a deal's done? They just want McCall on a non-expiring deal. Everyone involved knows it explains the Giannis Antetokounmpo heel turn and the Knicks sleepwalking. I've talked about what I think happened this summer a lot. I don't want to really go down that road again. I think I would be shocked right now if all parties involved meaning the Knicks and the Bucks and Giannis's representation, don't have a pretty clear idea of what the landscape is. I didn't care about the exclusive negotiating window or whatever the fuck that was, because it's not, I mean, obviously the teams talked, so that's great, but I don't think a deal is done. I don't think a deal is done because there's a lot of basketball left to be played. And again, for who knows, the Knicks could win a championship this year. And if the Knicks win a championship, maybe Giannis Antetokounmpo doesn't want to come to a team that just won a championship. Like as is always said, if the Warriors won against the Cavs in 2016, Kevin Durant probably doesn't go there. I mean, the people who know him swear that he was never going to go there if the Warriors won that finals. So I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that's left to happen. I think my guess is if I had to guess, I think the Knicks probably feel pretty good about where they're at on that front, but I don't know that. I don't know that for sure. Thanks, Luke. Michael Padalano, what's going on, Michael? I can't wait it until Kat and Jesus Mikal are off my team. I think there's a lot of people frustrated with them right now. Which is, and I have a lot of sympathy, obviously, for that. Carl frustrates me to no end. He's a very frustrating player. He's also a player that when he's going good, it could be utterly majestic. Bridges is the tough one, because Bridges, I was probably a lot more down on his playoffs than most people, because I think the big plays against Boston and some big fourth quarters against Boston, and he had some big fourth quarter scoring runs against Indiana too. I think they hid the fact that he shot atrociously from all over the field, like for most of the postseason. Like, go look up his postseason numbers; they were not good. He didn't shoot it well. And that's one of his job descriptions, is to shoot it well and also to be a really high level defender. Like, he has underwhelmed, I think, over the course of a year and a half. I think it's fair to say that Mikal Bridges has underwhelmed. Forget what they give up for him. Like, let's say they had given up 3 first-round picks or 4 first-round picks or 3 and a player or whatever. It doesn't matter. If you're the Knicks and you're like, hey, we're getting Mikal Bridges, and now fast forward a year and a half and you reflect back on what you thought the day you acquired him, are you going to be like, yeah, I think we are feeling good about it? I think you would probably, if you were being honest with yourself, I think you'd say we're a little disappointed versus what we have gotten so far versus what we were expecting. And that is not to say that he has not had some really good stretches of basketball, but on the whole, it hasn't worked out quite as well as you would have liked. I do not think the jury is out yet, though. No, I do think the jury is still out. Sorry, Miss former lawyer, can't screw that one up. Greg Film Stuff, what's going on, Greg? Great game by Mitch. Free throws almost lost the game. One of the best third quarters of the season. Yeah, given the quality of the opponent and given how Embiid was looking and how momentum was going in the game, and you were on the road, pretty hostile environment, the whole thing, I would say that was the best third quarter of the season, and I might even go so far as to say it maybe it wasn't the best quarter of the season, because they've had some really good fourth quarters. I think it probably was the best third quarter of the season. Yeah. Deuce needs to start over Bridges. Having Shamet back is such a luxury, especially on defense against opposing guards. Mikal trade, ? So the Bridges trade, again, that is an off-season thing. That's how the story was written, and I fully expect it to be an off-season thing. Landry Shamet is not a luxury. He is a necessity for this team, which is a little scary, but I'm past that. I'm past, like, there was a world that I existed in earlier, before the year, maybe earlier this year, where I was like, we were kind of operating from a place of strength. Not to say that the Knicks aren't still strong in a lot of respects, but Now it's just like, no, let's just call it like it is. The Knicks need Landry Shamet. That's all there is to it. As far as Deuce needs to start over Mikal Bridges, I'm going to give a shout out to my guy, DJ Zulo. DJ Zulo, who we're blessed to have two of the finest basketball minds not working for NBA teams currently in DJ and Benji. And DJ was the first person I saw on this, and he has not, as far as I know, he has never fully gotten off of this, which is he thinks the thing that would solve the Knicks' issues the most would be Deuce going into the starting lineup and Mikal Bridges coming off the bench. I don't know. Like, that would be such a... man. I think a lot of people would have to have a certain stomach for something like that. And I don't know that they do. But we'll see. Look, Deuce is awesome. He was not good today, but he, generally speaking, is awesome. And it makes sense in a lot of respects. But I don't know. You have to ask Mikal Bridges about that. Thanks, Greg. Look, they started great today, for what it's worth. Danishevsky with another one. Black Friday Charlotte game last year was worse for Mikal. That is you know what? I thought of the Black Friday Charlotte game when I was thinking about when I made the comment earlier of like, got to enjoy all the wins, right? And then I was like, well, almost all of them. I was thinking of the Black Friday Charlotte game. As I thought of it, I had completely blocked out the fact that Mikal had the game that he had. And now I'm thinking back to it, doing the post game, sitting on the floor of my in-laws' bedroom in their house that they have now sold and no longer own, doing that post game, talking about Bridges, and that was he got benched down the stretch of that game. Now that I'm thinking back to it, you're right, that was worse because in this game, Bridges was really good in the third quarter defensively, and I thought on the whole was pretty good defensively, like most of the game. And it was just the offensive end in this one. And he had that. What did he have? Some crazy boneheaded play down the stretch of that game. It was like on an inbound or something. And I forget specifically what happened, but it was really bad. Yeah. Thanks, Kev. All right. Sheldon Gomes. What's going on, Sheldon? Mikal is going to get shipped, but thought he did a good job chasing Maxi early. Yeah. I mean, again, if Maxi only has 22 points and the guy guarding him most of the time probably did something right. Big part of keeping the defensive intensity. Yes, Landry Shamet. Yes, 100%. P.S. Hope the postponed Minnesota game forces eyes on the subject. Absolutely, Sheldon. Haven't brought it up yet. I know that there are a lot of people out there who justifiably speaking of not having the stomach for things, don't have the stomach to talk about sports right now or even consume sports. I totally understand if that's where you're coming from. Don't begrudge it one bit. For my own self, I'm definitely at the point where I value the distraction. I don't know what that makes me, but there's some real tragedies happening out there, and it doesn't matter. Like as with any thing of this nature where people are losing their lives. Doesn't matter what side you fall on in terms of what your political beliefs are or anything like that. It's just, people are dying. And they shouldn't be. So my heart goes out to that individual, family, and everyone who's been affected by everything that's going on. And hopefully there's something that comes out of this that is like, again, it's you feel like you get blue in the face where you're like, well, maybe this is going to be the thing that spurs change, or maybe, and it's just, it could get very discouraging. And if I'm being honest about the reasons why I choose to allow sports to distract me when it comes to this stuff, the honest truth is that I have just gotten so frustrated over the years that But I'm also an old man who I hope, I don't know. I hope maybe my kids can pick up that spirit that I used to have. And if you are out there and you still have that fighting spirit, God bless you, man. That's all I got to say. All right. Thanks, Sheldon. Ant Rich, what's going on, Ant? Despite nearly blowing it, I'll take the win and keep the positive vibes. If we shoot even decently from the line, we run away with this one against one of the NBA's hottest teams. Well, not only shoot decently from the line, if two of their best three-point shooters would have made threes at anywhere close to a commensurate rate. So, yeah, there's tons of reasons why the Knicks should have scored a lot of more points in this game. Yeah, as you say, just an off night at the stripe, minus Mitch. Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks, Ant Rich. Appreciate that. It was a very generous contribution, by the way. Again, there's lots of reasons to feel positive about this win. First of all, it's a win. Second of all, there are specific things within it to look at as positives, and there are specific things to look at and be like, hey, we survived these things that aren't usually usually things that we do. We got a tweet from Fred Katz. Who's Fred Katz? I don't know who Fred Katz is. OG Anunoby on Mitchell Robinson catching up to him on the defensive player of the game list. I think he always deserves it every night. Any night he gets it, I love him for that. Good stuff. Thanks for that, Mink Daddy. Gabrielle Ganak. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that one right. Hey, J-Mac. Game 2 where Shamet outplays Mikal. We don't need weak fades and reverse layups. If he keeps this up, have him and his streak on another team. Man, I know he had a horrible game, but a response like this, and again, he hasn't been great for a while, but a response like this is just a reminder that there are a lot of people in this fan base who are very frustrated with Mikal Bridges and have been very frustrated with him. And if I'm being honest, I had the thought today, and I'm sure that this came up in Super Chats last year. I can't remember a specific one, but I'm sure it did. But where would the Knicks be today if Mikal Bridges went to Duke, or UNC, or I don't know. What's another good college? So out on college, Auburn. Any other college. I wonder where they'd be at today and how much different things would be. But they traded for him, and he's our guy right now. And he had a bad game. He had a bad game. Happens. Thanks, Gabriel. Hush Zoo. I'll buy Portland tickets if they help facilitate that trade. They don't need you to buy tickets. They got a good fan base there. Brunson plus defenders was always the formula. Get it right, Leon. I'm hyped. Let's go, Knicks. Portland's an interesting team because they're clearly building a very interesting squad. Where they have Denny as kind of this point forward, and they have a lot of size, they have a lot of length. They got this monster in the middle and Klingon, which is why the one thing I guess I didn't get, a lot of people were kind of assuming that Cat would go to Portland in this trade scenario. I did not see it that way when I read that. I was like, okay, so Mikal goes to Portland. Portland gives up picks, and then maybe probably Jeremy Grant's bad money goes to probably Milwaukee. But I guess there's a scenario where who knows, maybe that will be coming to the Knicks. I don't know, but for them to be thinking about building a roster where you got Tamani Kamara, who's awesome, and Denny, who's awesome, and Shaden Sharp, who's awesome, and then Mikal Bridges. How about those four? As a 1 through 4, you want to talk about 4 guys. They could all do some stuff with the ball. They're switchable. They all defend. I mean, Shaden Sharp doesn't defend. Sorry, but other than Shaden Sharp, they all defend. And then you got a big guy in the middle like Klingon, who's dabbling around with shooting threes. That's a real team. And then you still got the Scoot piece there, which, you know, who knows what happens with that. And maybe that factors into a potential trade where, you know, you're sending Scoot to Milwaukee as like, hey, it didn't work out here. We're already ready to win. Scoot should go somewhere where he can, you know, have a better opportunity to really work out the kinks and everything in his game. I don't know. Like, there's a lot there that makes sense, especially when you throw in Portland controlling some of Milwaukee's picks. There's a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of stuff there, and it makes sense for Portland. And who knows? Maybe Mikal Bridges would be better off playing in a place like Portland. I don't know. Thanks, Hush. Danishevsky, good call on Mitch minutes restriction. Makes sense now. But I don't think, based on what Winfield tweeted out about with Hakamich, maybe it was that instead. But either way, I didn't, you know, I was like, oh, he's going small. Okay. I wasn't like, how dare you take Mitch out of the game? But anyway, okay. Yeah, let's do it. Mark, hang on one sec. What do we got today? Ooh. Yeah, let's go chocolate. Let's hit the spot. Okay. Let us take a quick second. Drum roll, please. As soon as I could find my freaking thing here. To take a quick second to talk about our friends from Yule. You know about Yule because Yule's awesome. It is the meal replacement that checks all the boxes and doesn't give you anything that you don't want. So right now they're doing this the whole month of January. They have a high protein starter kit, basically. So it's like everything you need to get going with the Yule plan, which is centered around the Black Edition ready to drink, which I'm holding up right here, and also includes the bag of Black Edition powder. So it really is like, no matter what you're looking for, if you're looking to just get some more consistency with your protein intake, if you're looking, you have certain strength goals, go to the gym, whatever, or if you're just looking to balance your days where you have a little bit more control over what you eat versus chaotic days like this one. For me, I feel like every time I get up here and talk, I feel like it's always a chaotic day as my daughter is coming to visit. Yes. I don't know where Mama's phone is.
I just hear it ring.
I'm in the middle of an ad read here. Do you want to do the ad read? Okay, then. You sure? Okay, guess not. Anyway, yeah. What was I saying? Chaotic days? Why would anything be chaotic in my household? So yeah, I haven't eaten since I think about 11 a.m. So I am already very much looking forward to cracking open the Yule Black Edition ready to drink and having this at the very least to hold my over until I can have a meal later tonight. It's got all the stuff, as I said, you want: 35 grams of protein, 27 vitamins and minerals, 7 grams of fiber, and only 400 calories, and it's under $5, which is really where you get your bang for the buck. For a limited time, you can get Yule's high protein starter kit today with the exclusive 20% online offer. You just got to go use my code KFS. So you go to Yule, HUEL.com/KFS. And that is, of course, for new customers only. Thank you, as always, to Yule for partnering with us and supporting us here at Knicks Film School. All right. Next up, stat of the game from our guy, Jonah Kaufman. Today's stat of the game was 12, and it's not a good stat of the game. It's a bad stat of the game. This was the second most missed free throws in a game this season, and the second lowest free throw percentage, both trailing only the close win over Dallas. Yes, that was a nightmare free throw game. The difference is in the Dallas game, you had Mitchell Robinson take 6 free throw attempts. In this game, Mitchell Robinson did not take a single free throw attempt. Every Knick, besides Mikal Bridges, missed at least one free throw tonight, and a bunch of guys shot way below their percentages. So no bueno, guys. No bueno. This should have been a blowout. Make your threes that you're supposed to make and hit your free throws. No more of this nonsense. All righty. Ant Rich with another one. Cat can't complain about the system or team chemistry when he keeps making dumb fouls. He gets fed as much as anyone on the team. This isn't about touches. It's about bad decisions. Play better. So, and I haven't really commented yet on the conversation, and it was not a big time conversation, probably because it was on a Friday. It was on a Friday afternoon, and you want to call it a Friday news dump, but whatever, it was what it was. I thought there was enough conversation about the Josh Hart comments from yesterday that it clearly resonated with some people. And again, for anybody who missed it, Josh Hart had media availability, and he went up there and he, he was asked questions about Karl Anthony Towns, and among the responses that he gave was like, yeah, we need, and I should be specific. At least one of the questions was phrased like, how do you get Cat going or whatever? And some of his answers were like, we need him to be smarter, in the context of like not drawing offensive fouls. And then at the end of another answer, which I think was more innocuous if you actually listen to it, where he ended with like, yeah, we're not as worried about Cat's offense. He's going to help us on offense. We're worried about the defense. Like, we want to see him go out there and block some shots. But he said it with a laugh and a smile on his face. It was more the, we need him to be smarter, that I thought was notable. But I think that was in response to the question about like his role or his usage or how they get him going, whatever. Like, at no point in time, under in the Leon Rose era, have we ever had to have a conversation about any player and getting them going other than this player. Josh Hart has spoken openly, maybe too openly at times, kind of kvetching about his, I don't know, what were his comments early a year or two ago? Yeah, like, I don't know, I'm just running around or doing cardio out there. And you know what he did? He figured it out because he's a fucking pro athlete. And what did it require? It required him to go out there, play with a little bit more effort and energy, and just like buy into the game plan, and mostly just play hard and play well. That's all it was, and we've never had to have this conversation about any other player here. And if you go around the league, and if you go around the league, even if you're talking about big men, even if you're talking about big men, other big men who maybe don't have traditional games, like when I mean, this is going to sound silly as soon as it comes out of my mouth, but when has there ever been a conversation about getting Nikola Jokic going? When has there ever been a conversation about getting Joel Embiid going? Even Mike Brown's old buddy, Domantas Sabonis. When has there ever been a conversation about getting Domantas Sabonis going? You got that stuff a little bit about Anthony Davis from time to time, like, Anthony's kind of a little bit too quiet, a little bit too passive on the offensive end. But even that is more like he disappears from games rather than his team is not doing enough to activate him. Karl Anthony Towns is the only max player in the league that I know of. Like the amount of conversation, and this is why I had my rant after the fourth game of the season against the Bucks. And it was phrased a little bit differently there. It was phrased, about like we've been having conversations for 10 years about how do we unlock Karl Anthony Towns. This is a little bit different, but again, how do we get him going? And it's just, and my point is not, this is not even directed at Cat, because Cat is what he is as a basketball player. Leon Rose made the affirmative decision to trade for this player who, again, we've been talking for, we had talked for the first 9 years of his career, 8 years, whatever he was in Minnesota. Same conversations happened. Same conversations. They made the decision to go get the player. So this isn't even as much a commentary on him or directed at him. But I got to imagine if you're Josh Hart or you're OG Anunoby or you're Mikal Bridges or you're Jalen Brunson or you're anybody in the locker room, I would guess it might get a little tiring after a while to constantly have to both answer questions about this and have and then go out there and feel like you have to do it. Like it, it's hard enough to do your own fucking job as a basketball player. And now I got to worry about this other thing over here. Which is why, look, should Hart have said what he said in the way that he said it? Maybe not. And I get it. Everybody who's coming at this from the perspective of, I don't blame Kat for feeling, targeted or marginalized or any of those sorts of things in the locker room. I'm trying to be sympathetic towards that viewpoint as well. But it is difficult for me to break that apart from this other part of it, where again, I do think it is probably a little tiring, if you're one of these other guys on the team, and Josh is not someone who's going to be bashful a lot when it comes to this stuff. So there you go, man. I appreciate where you're coming from there. Thanks. M. Joe, thanks for the contribution. Appreciate you. OG team, McCall at the minimum should be playing good defense and hitting open threes. Shamet is doing a better job at that aspect alone than McCall, and that's what's so worrying. I said it a few weeks ago. I'll say it again. If Mikal Bridges was simply a better point of attack defender than he has shown us so far this season, if that was the only thing that was different, if everything else was the same and he was just like 10% better, maybe 15% better, maybe 15% better, getting around screens and guarding the point of attack, I would have such a different outlook, because I know what you're saying about hitting open threes. The dude's, even after today, the dude's hitting 39% from three this year. Like, that's fine. He's shooting 50% from the field overall. That's fine. And then I guess I would add one free throw per game, one free throw attempt per game. That also maybe not fine. You'd like to see, like, I don't know, 2 free throw attempts per game. But even that, I would take the physicality part of it. I would take the lack of physicality if he just was better being more physical at the point of attack and getting around screens. That's the big thing for me. And Shamet does that. So credit to him. But unfortunately, Shamet is not as long or tall as Bridges. Thanks, OG team. M. Joe, what's going on, M. Joe? At least McCall beat his free throw per game average with 2 big ones. Right on cue. Right on cue. Thanks, M. Joe. GMF Dwight. What's going on, man? Thanks for the contribution. Mitch is the ultimate X factor for this team. The Knicks can afford to lose the intangibles he brings to the floor. I'd also say this game makes a decent case for one of Deuce and Shamet to be on the floor at all times. Well, the only way you're going to get that is if one of them starts. And how about, like, what is it? It's like tired, wired, inspired. Is that the order? Right? I think that's the order. So what would tired Mikal Bridges starting, wired Deuce McBride starting, inspired Landry Shamet starting? Because he's honestly, Shamet might be a better point of attack defender than Deuce. And I mean, as a shooter, I don't know. The way Deuce is shot at this year, they're probably 1A and 1B. I mean, let me just look up real quick. Per 36 minutes, Deuce McBride, 9 3-point attempts for 36 minutes, shooting 42.6% on threes. Landry Shamet, 8.1 3-point attempts for 36 minutes, shooting 43.5% on threes. They are the Knicks' 2 best 3-point shooters, and Mikal Bridges is third. And then everyone else is a distant. Well, I mean, let me rephrase that. Brunson's damn good too, but he's in a different category. Sorry, I should have said that's per 36 minutes. I don't know if I said that before. Those numbers are per 36 minutes. Thanks, Dwight. Darius, thank you for the generous contribution, man. I would take Kuminga and a second-round pick for Bridges. Well, again, this is where it goes to. The Knicks are not going to do anything to jeopardize, their chances this summer. Also, that would be a bad trade. That would be a bad trade even for right now, because Jonathan Kuminga is a really good isolation scorer, and it's not that the Knicks don't need another isolation scorer. They do, but Kuminga is not a great defender. He is someone who is very much at the stage of his career where he wants his numbers, and he's also not a three-point shooter. So, or not a proven three-point shooter. So, Kuminga is a interesting player, but again, the fact that there are like bad teams out there who don't want to give up what you need to give up for Jonathan Kuminga, I think should tell you all you need to know. Thanks, Darius. All right. Huck Frazier. Oh, you just reminded me. I was going to look up some numbers in this game. Hang on here. I'm gonna get to your super chat in a second, but I wanted to see what was the Knicks' offensive rating with Brunson off the court in this game. So the Knicks' offensive rating in this game overall was 116.7. With Brunson on the court, it was 119.2. With Brunson off the court, it was 105.6. So that's actually higher than I thought it would be. They were outscored 23-19 in 10 minutes. Okay. Your comment here. Mitch on, Cat off. 23 minutes plus 15. Defensive rating 91. Offensive rating 127. There you go. Also, Huck understood the assignment with that stare down. Yes. JB was all of us yelling challenge at Brown. I've had such sympathy for him. It reminded me of one of my kids who wanted ice cream after dinner. Or before dinner, as it were, oftentimes. Mitch has been awesome this season. I don't know how many different ways there are to say it. The Knicks this season are this is going into this game. 1.7 points per 100 possessions better with him on the court. And most of it is coming on the offensive end. They're plus 3.9 points per 100 on offense. They've actually been worse on defense with him this year, and I think that's because he's had some iffy defensive stretches. He is better now defensively, but the most interesting stat of the year for me, for the Knicks, is, I'm going to pull it up right now. If you look at lineups this year for New York, where Mitchell Robinson is on the court, and again, we're talking about Mitch, who's not the most skilled offensive player in the world. So if you take lineups and you're looking for Mitchell Robinson on the court with Jalen Brunson on the court together, those lineups, pulling it up right now, are scoring, get ready for this, 128.9 points per 100 possessions. I'm going to say that again. 128.9 points per 100 possessions, and that is in 854 possessions. This is according to Cleaning the Glass. Now, those defensive numbers for those lineups are bad. 121.9, but because the offense is so great, it's still really good. And again, I think Mitch has gotten better defensively over the course of the year. So you might be asking, well, what about, like, how does Cat factor in there? Because Mitch has played a lot with Cat. So that was 128.9, 854. If you take Cat off the court, now it is Mitch and Jalen, no Cat, 670 possessions. So we've gone down about 200 possessions. The offensive rating goes up to 132.8. That is, according to Clean the Glass, a 100th percentile number, meaning it is in the top percentile of all five-man lineups league-wide. And that is not in 100 possessions or 150 possessions or 200 possessions. That is in 670 possessions. That is not nothing. This Knicks offense with Jalen Brunson and Mitchell Robinson on the floor together without Cat is unstoppable. And then the last number that I'm going to give you, when you have Jalen on the floor with Jalen, and this is just Jalen on the floor with Towns. They're scoring 123.4. Again, that's good. That's good. 123.4 is good. It's not whatever the hell number I just gave you a second ago with JB and Mitch. And then if you take Mitch off the floor for those, which will be the last little ditty we do here. So this is with Brunson on and Cat on and Mitch off. It goes up a little bit to 124.6. So look, what is that? What does all this tell you? It tells you, number one, Jalen Brunson is a basketball god on the offensive end. And two, it tells you that the Knicks are a better offensive team when Jalen Brunson's on the floor with Mitchell Robinson than when he's on the floor with Karl-Anthony Towns. That should not be the case. That should not be the case. When they made the trade, that was not what they had in mind. I promise you that. Thanks, Huck. Drew P., what's going on? If Mitch retires here, retire his jersey. Man. I think he would need to win a championship here for them to retire his jersey. I think they would need to retire. I think he would need to win a championship here for them to retire his jersey. And I've gone through this before. He's getting up there in terms of seasons played for the Knicks. This is his 8th season as a Knick. There have only been 13 players who have played at least 9 seasons. Most of them do not have their numbers retired. Trent Tucker, 9 years. Allen Houston, number not retired. He played 9 years, and he also went to a finals. Some of the old guys, Charlie Ward, 10 years, went to a finals, obviously as more of a role player, but, Mitch is a role player. Oak, 10 years. Phil Jackson, 10 years, two-time NBA champion Phil Jackson. He doesn't have his number retired. So, I think if he wins a championship, I think there's a chance. And also, the standards may change over time. Like, Dolan clearly doesn't like doing this, but it may change. So, I don't know. We'll see. It'd be cool, though, if he stayed here. Thanks, Drew. The venture reel. So OG is the Draymond of our depth lineup. We've kind of been talking about this for 2 years. There was a lot of wondering why Tibbs never went to this. OG at the 5. It could work. It could absolutely work. I think it would work even better if you had a little bit more size out there. You were awfully small there towards the end with OG at the 5, and then what was it? Hart effectively at the 4, right? So, that's really not a lot of size. Then the problem is you can only push this stuff so much because it's not about that you're not grabbing offensive rebounds. That's not even the issue. It's that you got to clean up the defensive glass. Now, thank the good Lord, Deuce McBride and Josh Hart in particular are guys who play a lot taller than their heights in terms of boxing out and whatnot. But yeah, thanks, Venture Real. Cliff Clairville, what's going on, Cliff? I was at the game today. Knicks fans rolled deep out here. Yeah, we heard it on the broadcast. Shout out to every Knicks fan who showed up to Philly for that game. At Ishka Bibbles enjoying a cheesesteak. Let's go Knicks on to the next. Man, I've been doing a diet with my wife now for the last couple weeks. What I wouldn't give for a cheesesteak, just throwing it out there. I would love a cheesesteak right now, but that's not going to happen. It's not in the cards today. Thanks, Cliff. The Yule is delicious, though. Jordan Miller. No clue why OG even attempted that layup and instead didn't wait to get fouled. He has brain farts. I called it out in the minute. As soon as it happened, and you know what? I did want to see the replay, and the thing with me with the replay was, he had Hart right there too, but Hart had also missed 4 free throws, so I don't know. Flashbacks to Bargnani's. What is he doing? 3 against the Bucks. Yeah, not quite that bad. Look, he was right under the basket. He's thinking, all right, I'm going to go up. I'm going to draw the foul. But I do not always trust OG around the rim. I will just leave it at that. And also, sorry. OG, again, I love you, my guy. I appreciate the fact that you want your shots and you like your shots and you want to be a bigger part of the offense and the whole thing, and you get a little salty from time to time and all of the things. You should never, ever, 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 unless it is the absolute last second of a shot clock and the ball ends up in your hands and you got to shoot a mid-range shot again. This offense is too good to have you, OG Anunoby, shooting mid-range shots when you, for the year, are shooting 24% on long twos. Those are twos, according to class, that are outside of 14 feet. 4 for 17. And on short twos, which is traditionally known as floater range, shooting 38%, 18 for 47 on mid-rangers overall this year. OG Anunoby is making barely a third of his mid-range shots. There is no reason for him to dribble into these looks. If that's the best shot you have, unless it's the last couple seconds on a shot, pass to the next guy. It will be a higher percentage shot. I'm fine with all the other stuff with OG. Just stop it with even the stuff around the rim that I don't love. Just stop it with the mid-range stuff. Come on. He's also down to 25% from above the break, for whatever it's worth. All right, Jack Corcoran. What's going on, Jack? This might be exposure bias speaking, but why does this team constantly underperform the percentage on free throws in the clutch? That is a great question. Let me hold on. I'm going to look up right now. Hold on, because you could look up team. You could look up team clutch stats or whatever. NBA teams clutch stretch. Okay, in the clutch this year, the Knicks free throw percentage is last in the league. Dead fucking last. 63.2% from the line in clutch situations. Great call by you, Jack. Absolutely great call by you. That is painful. Man. Small sample size, but still. Talking about 19 games and under 40 free throws, but that's bad. All right. From Kevin. Of course, it's from Kevin. J-Mac, you always forget Dame is back next year with Portland. LOL. I don't think that factors into this at all. But whatever. Okay. I think that's it. I think we're good. We're good. Okay, here we go. You know what, though? On the bright side here, how about this? You know what team is the best clutch three-point shooting team in the league? The Knicks. So go figure. The Knicks have the best clutch three-point shooting percentage in the NBA by far and the worst clutch free throw percentage. Your guess is as good as mine. Okay, we're out. Thank you, everybody, for checking out another episode of the Knicks Film School Postgame Show. If you dig what we're doing here, please help us out. Help your boys and gal out by giving us a 5-star rating wherever you get your podcasts, as well as a kind review if you are so inclined. Please turn on those YouTube alerts so you know when we are going live. Obviously, it is trade season, and anytime something happens, even if it's a rumor, if it's big enough, we will go live. So turn on your YouTube alerts. We also have some great bonus content at Patreon and Substack. I will have a wrap-up or a recap newsletter in inboxes by 5 a.m. tomorrow, as I always do. So look out for that. And then, of course, you can follow us on social media at Knicks Film School. That is SKOOL. When am I going to be back? I'm recording with Jeremy tomorrow night. Look forward to that. And then Monday, I don't know what we have on Monday. We got something coming up on Monday. I'm not sure exactly what we got coming up on Monday, but we got something coming up on Monday. All right. That's it. Talk to you later. Peace out.
Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777. Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Not available in all states. Terms apply. See the Fanatics Sportsbook app.